Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker-Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hi, I'm Becky Parker-Geist. I am the host of the Audiobook Connection podcast, Behind the Scenes with the Creative Teams. I'm also president of Bay Area Independent Publishers Association and the CEO and founder of Pro Audio Voices and Amplify Audiobooks, providing audiobook and podcast production, distribution, and marketing. And today I have with me Nancy Regas, author of The Art of Being a School Counselor. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about why you became a school counselor in the first place. What led you?
What led me? Well, my career meandered. I thought when I grew up that I, wanted to be a nurse and that was it. And you just stuck to something. And I carried that through really childhood. And I went into nursing, and when I transferred here, I lived in Michigan, and I, fell in love, and I transferred out to San Diego State, and they messed up my course of study, and so I was losing a little bit of my passion, but I didn't really realize that. And so I went into nursing a couple of years, and then I became a perinatal educator, which allowed me to teach parenting and birthing classes and breastfeeding and siblings. And I loved that. I loved being involved with families. Yeah. And it allowed me to raise my daughters as well and have flex hours. And then my husband got into a doctoral program. He was an educator, and he got into a doctoral program. And I went to a session, spouses of doctoral candidates. Oh. And so the professor grabbed me afterwards and said, okay, so tell me about your counseling career. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm not a counselor. This is what I do. And she goes, oh, no. You have to come see me. You need to get in the program. You belong here. So I decided to dive in and was accepted and went on for my master's. But at first I thought it was marriage and family therapy that was calling me. Yeah. So I got
I have to ask you a question, though. So yes. You were in this audience, and was it that your husband had talked about what you did or something? How did this person who said, oh, you have to be in this program, how did she figure that out from that moment? I'm so curious.
Well, this was just for spouses. So my husband wasn't in this session. So I just kept answering questions that she threw out there. Oh. And so she approached me afterwards and said, wow, tell me about this. And so she was wonderful. I just had utmost respect for her. Yeah. And so I did marriage and family therapy and for a couple years, but I was still feeling that pull. And so I looked into the school district and I thought, how can I marry this and get in? And there was a position that had opened from a grant of a resource coordinator of a violence and substance abuse prevention project for pregnant and parenting teens. It's a mouthful.
Wow.
And I went to the assistant superintendent and shared my credentials and what I'd done. And he said, I have somebody who needs to meet you. So he put me together with the program director, and the three of us were in a room, and she just threw questions at me for an hour and a half and then looked at him and said, I want her. She's mine. And I was stunned. And I thought, wow, I never dreamed of this. Yeah. But it was an incredible position, because it allowed me to find the voice I didn't know I had.
Yeah. So this was the position that was funded with that grant for pregnant and parenting teens. Interesting. Yes. Okay.
And so I began to do work, and there were a team of 8 of us, from different parts of the state. None of us knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
This was all brand new. And what we created was phenomenal until, of course, as grants happen, they pulled the funding.
Right.
But I became known in the community. I was asked to speak. I did lots of speaking engagements, and I knew I needed to stay in education. So I got my school counseling credential, and I decided that I really wanted high school.
Yeah.
And I went to life skills first. That while I was finishing my credential, and I taught, drug and alcohol prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that at elementary, middle school, and high school.
Mm-hmm.
Finished my credential and went to the high school. And I knew I was home. I felt like now it makes sense, everything I've done.
Yeah.
When I was getting my credential, a professor said, a career is an expression of who you are.
Mm.
And that resonated with me and helped me understand my journey.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't helter skelter.
Right.
It really had a purpose
Right.
and laid me and landed me in a spot that made real sense for me. And when I was interviewing at the high school, the head counselor looked at me and said, okay, I don't do crying. You can take all the crying. I'm not crying. I want to do just the schedule. You're going to have all the crying kids. I said, it's okay. I will take all emotions. So that's how I landed in the high school. And it just, for me, it was such a passion that I had the privilege of being with students and watching them grow from ninth grade to 12th grade.
Yeah.
I think that is the best kind of counseling. There are schools throughout this country who do grade level counseling. You're just the ninth grade counselor. And I find that it's empty because you can't build anything with a student.
Right.
You can't watch them grow.
Yeah.
And so then I, got into the high school and became the counselor that I never had. I don't, as much as I love school, I grew up in Michigan. I was valedictorian of my high school. I was at a junior, senior high schools where you literally watched yourself grow up from age 12 to 18. I don't remember one conversation with my counselor.
It's interesting that you felt felt that pull so strongly into that arena that for many people just feels like, well, no way, that's really hard stuff, really dealing with I think, perhaps some of the hardest stuff that we deal with because we're at a point in our development where we haven't figured life out. We don't know what the skills are. We don't have much to draw on in terms of experience. A lot of times our parents are ill-equipped to help us navigate those real challenges that we can find ourselves in. And to know that you felt so drawn to that right from the beginning is fascinating to me. And I think it's a really great thing. I think about I've spent many years of my life as an educator, as like a substitute teacher, and found that there were definitely certain areas that I was particularly drawn to. Like I was very drawn to preschool education, those really, really young ones, and found some of like middle school really challenging. So I love that there are people like you that are really drawn to help those kids who are at very challenging times in their lives. Yeah.
And I think it only getting more challenging, especially with, the bane of our existence, technology.
Right.
It's the curse, and, we can't live with it. We can't live without it.
Yeah.
But students rely on their phones. They want instantaneous gratification.
Right.
And they almost forget how to communicate. I mean, I often got emails from students that was written in text language.
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know how to finish a sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so part of what I did was developed that dialogue so we could have a conversation.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
I'm here to listen. Tell me about you. And I, the key word that and students knew it was my favorite word, was respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that I expected it from them and I gave it to them.
Yeah.
And they knew that they were unique in my office, especially if I had siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I never compared siblings. I never used siblings as messengers. Tell your brother to come and see me. Tell your
Mm-hmm.
sister she forgot this. I
Right.
need this from. I never discussed their brother or sister with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And so they knew their moment was private.
Mm-hmm.
They knew their moment was sacred with me. And they knew that I gave them my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's was crucial in developing the trust.
Right.
So students felt safe. My office was a safe zone.
Yeah.
I had an open door policy. Students knew they could come whenever. If it wasn't a good time, they knew that I would tell them, this
Mm-hmm.
isn't working for me because, and I gave them a reason,
Mm-hmm.
but I want you to come back here.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be here and this will be your moment. And I never had any student fight me, disagree with me. It was like, I'll be back. And they always came back.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. So we're teaching them really communication skills as well as the skills of how to deal with their own emotions and challenging life situations. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, high school is a microcosm
Mm-hmm.
of adult life. And if the focus is only on, okay, you have to learn math, you have to learn history, you have to learn English, you have to learn science,
Mm-hmm.
you have the arts, you have to get all these credits, you've missed that transition into adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, and parents, it used to be what parents would ask me the most. High school is about 7 things: time management, organization, responsibility, accountability, accessing resources, knowing when and whom to ask for help, and punctuality. It uses math, science, English, history, the arts to teach you those things.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't learn those 7 things, you're not going to make it. I don't care if you're a genius.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn those 7 things, that's applicable
To everything.
to the life,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
will make it.
Yeah.
So that's what I worked on. I
Yeah.
worked on those things in order to get them through to the end result of earning a high school diploma and then planning the second step,
Yeah.
next
Now,
chapter.
some of the things that you've talked about, I feel like in you highlighting them, you are pointing out to all of us that the typical conception of what a school counselor is or what their role is may be a little misunderstood, and or maybe a lot misunderstood. So, is that valid? Is what I just stated that there's something about that role of being a school counselor that you feel is misunderstood in either by anybody, whether it's the parents, the students themselves, the school administrators? What's happening in that role in relation to the perception of what that role is or could be?
I think the counselor is the hub of the wheel.
Hmm.
And the spokes that stick out are administrators and teachers and students and parents
Hmm.
and anybody else in the school setting that is working with students. And oftentimes those big 4 are not on the same page.
Hmm.
And a counselor is the only one who's really accountable to all 4.
Hmm.
And my goal was always to bring them together so that administrators and teachers got to see the student for who they are, not a 9th grader, not a boy, not a girl, not, a troublemaker or whatever label you want to put on them.
Right.
Parents got to see their students as somebody embarking on adulthood very quickly. And students got to see themselves as they can take charge.
Yeah.
They can make their lives, I used to say, be your own best friend and not your own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we dialogued a lot about, are you being your friend or your foe?
Yeah.
And so I worked at building a relationship with each of those entities.
Yeah.
So that teachers knew I had an open door policy for them. Administrators knew. Parents knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to hear from all of those people. I mean, I called a parent once for a behavioral issue. One of my least favorite jobs, was referrals. And the parent said to me, well, he's your problem, not mine. You have him for 6 hours, and hung up on me.
Oh.
And I went, okay, that's not going to be an ally.
Yeah.
So I need to work with this student in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So you learned your boundaries. You learn what works, what doesn't. You learn parents who begin to trust you. One of the things I asked a parent, her son was a senior, really struggling in school. He and I had a great relationship, but he just was messing up and failing classes.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me one day and said, I'm going to pull him. I just saw his progress report. I'm going to pull him. I'm taking him out. He'll just get a GED and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And he used to share with me, they just butt heads.
Mm.
Just the more she asked, the more he crumbled. So I said to her, and we had a relationship. I said, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. And it's going to be the hardest thing you've probably have been asked. You and your son are like oil and water. You just don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you not to ask him one thing about school. Don't ask him if he's done his homework. Don't ask him what's due. Don't ask him what grades he's getting. I promise you, I will continue to work with him. I will see him every week. We have a plan already.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is constantly reviewed of what he needs to do to get to graduation. And I'm asking you to trust me. And I know it's a scary thing. And she said, I do, and I will. So I met with him every week. He went to night school. We went through each of his night school classes. We'd pull up his grades. We'd look at any gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the privilege of calling her in May saying he's going to graduate.
That's great. Nancy, I have so many more questions for you about you and your book, but let's take a short pause and we'll come right back. Would you like to earn more from your audiobook sales? If you're an author with an audiobook, you may have noticed that royalties from Audible especially, and other platforms as well, are frankly kinda pathetically low, disappointingly low, and unfairly low considering what it cost you in effort and resources to create it. How is it the retailers are the ones making all the money off your work and investment? As someone who started in the audiobook industry in 1981, I've found it frustrating that authors keep getting shortchanged. The good news is that Pro Audio Voices just launched Amplify Audiobooks, a direct sale audiobook platform for authors that puts you back in the driver's seat. Earn 65% of the gross sales price that you set. Compare that to the percentage of the percentage that retailers give. Run promotions on schedule whenever you want. Create coupon codes. Build community with your customers since you'll know who they are and how to contact them. Work with a caring, responsive, supportive team to help you succeed all along the way. Get help with marketing. Get paid weekly. We're helping audiobook authors who are frustrated by painfully low royalties and the barriers that prevent them from managing their own products and customers. Amplify Audiobooks is a direct sale platform that enables authors to earn much higher royalties and have way more control. We're disrupting the audiobook industry by putting authors first. Get started today at proaudiovoices.app or go to proaudiovoices.com and click on the Distribution Amplify link. Join the movement. So as you were thinking about, as you've been counseling, at some point you decided to write a book. I would love to hear about what the inspiration for that decision to move forward on writing a book, and also who did you have in mind as your reader when you were writing? Who did you write it for?
So I retired in 2016 from the school district, but then I went on to work for a private liberal arts college as a regional representative. And so I worked for the college was a small liberal arts college in southern Michigan. And I was serving as the liaison and worked for 3 counties in San Diego, Riverside, and Orange County. And I would visit schools. I was part of the regional admissions counselors of California, who are counselors that live in California but represent schools outside of the state. I loved that. It was just so exciting and dynamic, and it really carried me because I was ready to move from the district, but I wanted something. Mm-hmm. And I would have stayed there for 5 years, but the admission counselor I was working with decided to get her master's at Harvard, and I couldn't tell her no. And so I decided to retire from Albion. But I was missing my students, and I retired, the fall of 2019. COVID hit the next spring.
Right.
And I began thinking about my students, and stories just kept coming, and I'd see their faces, and I have some pictures, and I said, I have to write something. I have to write why I'm so passionate about this. So that's how the book began. And I felt that in the transition, and it was coming towards the end of my career, there was more of a push in terms of the American Association of School Counselors, ASCA, and theory, and looking at the domains of emotional, academic, and social. And I think it's great. It elevated the profession out of just not people who schedule classes.
Right.
What I also saw from many colleagues in the profession is a job versus a passion.
Yes.
And, we have to do these things and get them done. And I just stayed with the passion. The passion is what fueled me and what kept me going. And every day was different. And when crises happened, it was the passion that kept me connected. Mm-hmm. And so that's who I began to write for. And I began to write for counselors is, thinking about graduate programs and thinking of my own graduate program and thinking, okay, we never talked about this. We talked about the structure and those specific things, but not the personal, the passion, those kind of linkages, not about why you need parents on board, why you should work with teachers. I mean, I worked with teachers who probably didn't even know where the counseling office was. I had worked with some teachers who never stepped foot in the counseling office. I had many teachers that came to see me regularly because they knew that space was sacred for them too. So I gave them that time. And so it was just such a broad base of, I felt I wanted to transform the reality of counseling and wanted people to hold on to that expression of who they are
Mhm.
through this profession.
Yeah.
And that's how it all began.
Was there somebody, a part of your audience that you were writing for specifically? Or really, you know, what do you think about in terms of, like, who your book, The Art of Being a School Counselor, who is that written for?
Initially, I think I focused on people who wanted to be counselors
Mhm.
and figuring out how you find that out, because it's not an easy job,
Right.
and being in schools, there are people that go into school work
Yeah.
because they want, all the stereotypes. They want summers off. They want 2 weeks at Christmas. They want a spring break. They think I have a short day.
Right.
I mean, I never had a short day. I went to work an hour and a half before school started. I stayed after. I ran the after school credit makeup program. So my days were long,
Yeah.
but that created linkages. And then I thought about the teachers that I had really close relationships with. And why did that work? And teachers who didn't rely on counselors.
Mhm.
So and my husband was a retired educator, teacher, and administrator, who I think was a really rare administrator in that he really understood the role of counseling. He
Mhm.
really understood how to utilize his counselors.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to, there's a thing in education called duties as assigned, and it's not a fun thing.
Mhm.
It kind of references that, and counselors are often given that. When in doubt, oh, who can do this job? Oh, it's a counselor. And the worst job, I did was we had a bomb threat, and so we were on, lockdown, and
Mm.
police came in, and the administrator told the counselors, go out and work with the police officer, and he told, and look for a bomb. And
Oh my god.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking for. And I'm out here by myself. And it was the strangest experience of my life. Thank goodness we found nothing. Bomb scare was
Wow.
a rumor. And so it went on. But I thought, okay, that was a duty as assigned. That was not a cool duty.
Yeah.
And so I began to see all of those people as I was writing.
Mhm.
That's why I have a chapter for parents and, chapter for teachers and a chapter
Right.
for administrators,
Yeah.
because I wanted them to see things that are not readily seen.
Yeah. So you're really addressing all the spokes in the wheel
That's it.
with the counselor as the hub that
Yeah,
you described. Yeah.
absolutely.
And would you say there's anything that there are things in your book that are applicable outside of education, outside of that sort of what is the institution of education in our country?
Absolutely. The whole art of communication, the whole art
Mhm.
of listening skills, and particularly now where we are in this country, people don't listen.
Right.
We make assumptions. We Google quickly.
Mhm.
We go to those resources. Now we are competing with AI.
Right.
So there's so many dimensions where you take humanity out of it, and I think that one of the reviews that I got, the gentleman is a supervisor, is an electrician. And he said, I use all of your tools to talk to my employees in
Mhm.
terms of how I get them to understand what I need from them.
Wow.
So I think anybody can see that and apply those things to themselves, and also ask themselves of their own job or career, am I passionate about what I do?
Mhm.
Do I know the reason I go to work every day. Do I have a job or a career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I authentically myself
Yeah.
there? And that's why I felt in, why I recorded the book myself. I've done voiceovers, but it had to be my voice. It was authentically me. And what I wrote in the book is what I said, what I
Mm-hmm.
did,
Mm-hmm.
what I still think, what I still do. I'm drawn to adolescents, and if I meet somebody at church, and I always ask them what grade you're in, what do
Yeah.
you like about school? So I haven't let go of that.
Yeah. So now we're moving into the realm of my passion, which is audiobooks. So tell us a little bit more about the way in which you chose to narrate the book yourself. So you knew you wanted to be the narrator. And did you have a studio at home that was already set up, or did you have to get that set up? What was that part of the equation for you?
I had a studio at home, so I already had, the equipment and everything, and so I knew that. And I worked with an engineer in terms of the editing because I knew
Mm-hmm.
the magnitude of this piece was a lot different than just doing a short commercial and things that I edit my own.
Yeah.
So I did that, worked with an engineer, and which I had totally trusted. So that was good.
Yeah.
And it allowed me in a different format because when I was writing, it was kinesthetic, and I
Mm-hmm.
could, I could feel that.
Yeah.
When I'm speaking, I could visualize myself standing in front of a classroom, standing in front of the cafetorium and talking to parents, students. I had a principal once who didn't give compliments, really. And she said to me after she heard me do a presentation, she said, "Students don't listen to anybody on this campus like they listen to you." And I consider that uh, quite humbling and quite a compliment. And so I can see myself, and I could see myself as I was recording. I could picture students. I, knew where I stood in certain places. That was all coming back to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was exhilarating
Yeah. Yeah.
to narrate.
Yeah. So your experience in life that you had for presenting and recording already really served you in the recording of your audiobook.
It did.
Yeah. That's
It
great.
really did.
That's
And it
great.
made it more fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, would you share with our listeners where they can learn more about you and where they can get your book and audiobook?
All right. Well, my book is available online at Amazon and on Kindle, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart. Um, on Outskirts Press, I have an author's page, which really gives you a real complete overview, a sample of my audiobook, another interview that I did, and gives you understanding of that. And so you can go on to Outskirts Press. It's just outskirtspress.com/the art of being a school counselor.
Great.
And you can find that and get information about the book. I'm on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. The book is on Audible right now. And so those are places that you can connect with me
Right.
and message me. I do have a website. It's nancyregasvoiceover.com. It's mostly my voiceovers. There's a sample of my book, but you can message me through there as well.
All right, great. And we're looking forward to having The Art of Being a School Counselor and you on Amplify Audiobooks, which is where we always encourage our listeners to get their audiobooks. And there, you'll also have an author's page, and your listeners will be able to directly connect with you and share the experiences and reflections that they have of your audiobook. So
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. So maybe by the time that our listeners are hearing this, we'll already have it on Amplify Audiobooks. What I want to encourage our listeners to check out there first. You're looking for The Art of Being a School Counselor by Nancy Regas. Nancy, thank you so much for spending this time with me.
You're so welcome, Becky. I really appreciate the time.
All right. You take care.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.